Okay, I think we're pretty much good to go. Hey everybody, Debo here. Been a while, I know, at least for in terms of anything Diablo related. Took a break off of season 6. Came back during season 7. There was a lot of different things that had been changed in the game. Uh, PTR, I skipped that for season 7, so I really didn't know too much of what they updated. I know they added some nice items for like Locust Swarm got a nice offhand to boost that damage. Like they added a Ring of Emptiness, and we're going to try to keep this video straight and to the point. This is just to talk about the first week of season, since it's been 1 week since I started. If anybody has wondering about Overwatch videos, I got a couple more coming out, but it's towards the end of the season, things are kind of dying down, and I got a Zenyatta guy video coming out. But anyways, so I'm going to talk a couple about things, what the current meta is for Witch Doctor in terms of what people are climbing with. We're going to talk about the current group meta and the reasons why Blizzard changed what they did and whether I agree with them or not. And then overall, just how long I think the season will last for most people. So let's just go ahead and hop into it. The current Witch Doctor meta right now, in terms of just getting yourself geared through everything, is pretty much the Hell 2 setup. The Hell 2 setup is pretty much straightforward. You're going to rock, of course, the 5-piece Hell 2 set. Your cubed items are going to be, of course, not the Sacred Harvester. You actually want to have an Ancient Sacred Harvester. I haven't got one yet, but it's going to be Furnace, and you're going to have a Tasker and Theo or a Jerome's Mask of Jerome, depending on what you have. Some people have a good Tasker and Theo, so they use that as the gloves, and they go ahead and use the Helltooth helmet, and vice versa. And then you're going to go ahead and have the Ring of Royal Grandeur. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Anybody can look this information up, look at the leaderboards, and see what people are using. Bane of the Trapped, Bane of the Stricken, and also Enforcer Gem. I really don't need to go over why that makes sense. We're, of course, running it with the Short Man's Finger to increase the damage of the Gargantuan. Of course, the Gargantuan set on Humongoid for the cleave damage. Zombie Dogs with Leeching Beast for sustainability and getting your life back up. And then also the Ukapin Serpent offhand. Or you can rock the, I forget what it's called, the cat offhand that makes it so the first initial damage you receive is reduced. That's also good. But this seems to be a little bit more stable. I do agree with people. People say, like, well, Debo, I like the Ukapin Serpent. I agree. It's a lot easier to get one of these ancient, and it works well with the build. Of course, you're running the Lacumba's Ornament that combos with the Sacred Harvester. More increased damage, but most importantly, a lot of survivability. Witching out for more amped up damage. And of course, one of the most important parts is the Compass Rose, the Endless Walk combination. When we're moving, huge damage reduction. When we're standing still, huge damage boost. So everything is pretty much straightforward. There's not going to really be a secret in towards the end of the season. I will say this, Jade is creeping up. I think on EU, the number 3 spot is Jade. The last time I checked, so overall what a lot of people say is Jade's going to overtake things. I could definitely see that going towards the end of the season because the way things scale with Jade, I could see it happening. But we're just going to have to wait and see. But definitely really easy to go ahead and do is just get your Helltooth just set up. I mean, a lot of people, I tell them once you get to 70, you go ahead and go to your View Season Journey. And then you just follow all the different chapters, and at the end, starting with chapter 2, you get 2 pieces of Helltooth. Once you get your 2-piece set, then you into your 4-piece set, so then you finish chapter 3. And then, of course, when you finish the final chapter, you get your last 2 pieces, your pet and your portrait. Then you're pretty much farming very easily with Witch Doctor. The only thing you want to get probably immediately after you get your Helltooth is you want to see if you can get Jerome's Bracer. That helps out early on, at least until you get your Tall Man's Finger. And once you start getting the build fleshed out, you can kind of adjust to what you have here. So you can get yourself up and geared really well. And of course, at any point in time, you can right-click your portrait, go to View Leaderboards, and just see what everybody's using. And then just simply right-click somebody. Everybody knows this. You hear details. You can see what they're running. And you can just basically see what people are running, copy what they're doing, and then just kind of go from there. Some people got some very nice gear. Hopefully, I can get a decent Traveler's Pledge. But, I might just have to craft one. We will see. So not too worried about that. I've been playing a lot of solo because I tell people if I play in groups, it just accelerates everything. Not that there's anything wrong with groups. If you're trying to really get ahead of everybody in the beginning, you should be running in groups. If you're looking for specific items, you want to run a 4-Witch Doctor party. Everybody loot shares. Helps tremendously get everybody the items that they need since you got a bunch of Witch Doctors in party. Paragon grinding. I've seen 2 Witch Doctors, 2 supports. I've seen a lot of things doing pretty decent speed farming levels. But in terms of pushing the higher level greater risk and getting your gems higher, I kind of am guessing, and this kind of leads into our meta discussion, that it's going to be 3 monks and a barbarian. So the people that really want to get up high and push their gems high, I could see some people rolling monks and also barbarians so that they can be able to push those levels so they can get their witch doctor gems higher. But who knows, we might see a witch doctor combination out there that will be able to allow us to push the high levels like everybody else. Not too optimistic about this because one of the big changes that I heard that they did was with the Ring of Emptiness, if I said it correctly. That's the correct name. It basically gave the ability for if a target was hit with your Locust Swarm and Haunt at the same time, it took 300% increased damage. Now for any type of pet, especially Gargantuan, that makes that monster, makes the damage ridiculous. So basically the meta was, at least from what I hear, what people were talking about, it was 2 Witch Doctors, also in combination with 2 supports. That is out the window because they changed it before everything went just live. As you can see, at least on the EU board, it's pretty much triple monk barbarian, and you have some deviations. You might see a wizard here. You got a witch doctor here, did 100, so it's pretty close right now. So you can have a witch doctor in party. I wonder what I think. Let's see what he's running, and he's running Helltooth. Looks like he is running the fire bats for a little bit of survivability. And looks like he's running the Fire Bats build, so that's pretty interesting. Let me see here. Pestilence. He's running Consuming Spirits, Rune Languish, Fire Bats with Cloud of Bats. So it seems like he got a pretty nice setup, and everything seems to be working pretty well for him. Increased damage to enemies affected by Locust Swarm and Piranhas. And then, of course, you see he's running the Ring of Emptiness, so I'm assuming he's just, haunting everything up. Locust Swarm, Fire Batting it down, adding extra damage. I don't know if this build is going to persist to the end of season. We will have to wait and see, but it seems like a lot of people are just kind of running the triple. Well, I think what's going to eventually is going to happen is going to be triple monk with a barbarian, especially if people start scaling the gear up and the gems start getting higher and the Paragon starts getting higher. We're going to have to wait and see how things scale and see how things end. But just in general, the weird thing I only thought about the meta for this current season was as follows. Last season you had 1 wizard, 3 support. The 3 support was a barbarian, it was a monk, and also, if correct me if I'm wrong, it was a witch doctor, right? So you got barbarian, monk, witch doctor, wizard. Wizard does DPS, other classes just support it, which I think is fine. I know some people didn't like the 3 support meta, but the reason why I said it was fun was this. The monk could be switched out for a crusader, right? So when you have the wizard, you have the witch doctor, you have 1 bard, 1 monk. When you have 4 separate classes in a current meta out of 6 classes, there's nothing wrong with that. Add the combination of the crusader being in that, now you got, that can be swapped out for the monk, now you got 5. The only thing you're missing out, I do believe I did this correct, is just the DH. Now, they had to do some improvements to DH and what have you not. But you think about it in the long term, it's 5 out of 6 classes to be represented in the meta of speed farming, pusher, high level, greater risks. It's not really that bad when you really think about it. However, with the changes in which they did now, if monk barbarian becomes the most dominant thing to get the gem levels high, because at some point, if you're plateauing with the witch doctor, let's say at greater risk 100, but with the barbarian and the monk combo, the 3 monks and the 1 barbarian combo, you're able to push 110. Well, you can get your gems higher than the other witch doctors. You could still kind of match them on paragons if you're just farming, but eventually they're going to have higher gem levels, and that might be a big deciding factor, them pushing a couple higher greater risks than you. And then you're going to ask yourself, well, what do I need to do? And this is only the people that really want to top the leaderboards. Like, what do you do in order to, deal with that? And it's going to be like, well, I'm going to have to play a monk or barbarian to get my gems up higher so I can compete with the people who are really trying to do whatever it takes to get to the top. But if you don't care about that, not a big deal. But as we all know, people do respect meta, and it kind of trickles down to everybody who plays. So, I've seen a lot of cool things with Witch Doctors. I know a lot of people are playing this season. A lot of people are upset that they weren't like the big dick DPS that they were supposed to be, and I could have told you I don't think they ever will be. They recently just gutted our whole support options, toning down our damage. I think at some point they said the Witch Doctor had like 300% increased damage to a party's effectiveness, or in terms of their damage, which was pretty ridiculous when you think about it. However, it was from a support standpoint, and then when you take away a lot of their ability to do really good support, damage boosting for the group and CC and damage reduction, then you kind of have to give them something else to compensate. They really didn't. But I think the reason why a lot of people are still playing Witch Doctor, because it's a pretty straightforward class to play, very easy to gear up and just get farming initially, and then you can always use it to gear up, your other classes like, Monk or whatever you want to run just to get started in the season. Witch Doctor is very easy to play, very strong. Do I agree with the current meta? No. I'm more of a, even if you're running 3 support, 1 DPS, I would rather have 4 to 5 classes out of 6 represented as opposed to right now, if the meta persists this way, out of just 2 classes out of 6. You think about that. If only Barbarian and Monk are being represented, for pushing the higher levels, that's a problem. As opposed to the last season when you had 5 out of the 6, participating, that was pretty decent. But I mean, like I always say, I don't really blame Blizzard. A lot of people complain about the 3 support, meta, along with the 1 DPS. And the thing is, I don't think I would have mind that in a group setting, because in a group setting, the whole point is to work together as a team to overcome stuff and push out the most amount of damage and push the highest amount of greater risks. So when you think about it, that's a really smart thing. You have one guy who's amplifying damage, one guy who's pulling everything into the groups, one guy who's keeping everybody with sustainability and keeping them alive, and one guy to do damage. That sounds, and I hate to say it sounds like an MMORPG, but when you make the game focus around team play, as I warn people, then it becomes more about teamwork to be more efficient and get things done. But a lot of people didn't realize that, and a lot of people just don't understand that, and I mean, they kind of dug their own grave with this. Things were a little bit better when it was like, maybe, I know there's more people that want to do damage, and I don't think people were sick of the 3 support 1 DPS thing because it was just very mundane. I think everybody just wants to do damage, and in all honesty, when you're in a group like setting, it never works out that way. Whether you're playing Overwatch or whether you're playing MMORPG or other games. Even back in Diablo 2, we had barbarians that were like barred barbarians. They would just basically do a bunch of buffs and keep everybody buffed up, and you had a couple people who would just lay out the relentless amounts of damage. It was back like that in Diablo 2. Granted that Diablo, you can have up, I do believe, 8 people in the game, or 6, I forget. So, and there is more room to play in Diablo 2, not to mention the rankings weren't based around greater risk, it was based around experience. So I think Blizzard's going to have to go back to the drawing board, depending how the season ends out. Now, if we can get to maybe 3 classes represented in the meta, I think that would be okay. Witch Doctor might still be good, and some other classes may still be good. We got to wait to kind of see how things develop. But I think people are just going to run the 3 Monk and the Barbarian. That just makes a lot of logical sense. It's very straightforward. 2 DPS Monks, 1 support, 1 Barbarian, pulling everything. If they somehow figure out some meta where you can get 4 different classes in a group, then this will be a success for Blizzard, and I think good job. But we have to wait for the season to go on before we make that decision. So just to reflect on what we just talked about, Witch Doctor, what's the best build? I mean, Helltooth to start off is the easiest, but I think Jade is going to jump ahead, especially with the scaling of higher levels. I think both builds are cool. I think Witch Doctor has a lot of options, especially with the Ring of Emptiness. If any build runs basically Locust Swarm and, Haunt. The only thing I always question is this, though. If you're getting to the point where you're running Locust Swarm and Haunt, and you're running Ring of Emptiness, at some point you have to ask yourself, well, why don't you just run Jade build? Unless you're doing some crazy stuff. I saw a double Witch Doctor party. One guy was running Ring of Emptiness with Locust Swarm and Haunt, and then the other Witch Doctor was using a sacrifice, which this belt or whatever is ability that increased sacrifices damage if the target is also affected by Locust Swarm and Haunt or something crazy like that. And it seemed to be working out quite well, but I don't know how that will work in terms of sustainability, damage, and how that all works at higher levels. We'll have to wait and see, but if anything, reflecting on how past seasons went, is usually like 2 solid DPS and 2 solid supports. I don't know if that would be a very solid way. Like, anything involving Locust Swarm, Fire Bats, all that type of damage sacrifice, that seems good for trash mobs, but it really comes down to a little bit more than that. And the higher you go up in the greater risk, the more HP and the more longer it takes to kill enemies. So we'll have to wait and see, but I really think the 3 Monk Barbarian meta is here to stay. And only 2 classes representing out of 6 is a little bit weird. So, that's just the current meta, what things are going on. Witch Doctor, that's just how it goes right now. And then also currently how Witch Doctor's looking for the season. I think overall they did a good job with Witch Doctor. I do think they needed to tone down the supportability of Witch Doctor, but they needed to give compensation for gutting out the support abilities. Like, you needed to maybe make it so that we could maybe have 1 Witch Doctor in the party that can do damage, or at least provide some utility that could help everybody out, or make a Witch Doctor set that actually can support or help the group and still maybe amp a little damage but do a little damage at themselves. Witch Doctors don't need to be the best DPS in the group, but you can give them a balance between DPS and utility for the group. But we'll have to wait and see what Blizzard plans on to do us in the future. A lot of people were mad and upset. I said there's really no need to be upset. It is what it is, and I'll tell you this: like, Witch Doctor, the way I feel is this: I don't think Witch Doctor should be the top DPS. I think a Wizard should, because Witch Doctor is supposed to be damage and utility, Wizard's supposed to be pure DPS. Just for like the strength class, I think Barbarian should do more damage than a Crusader. Crusader should be more utility. That just makes more sense to me. And for the, of course, Dex class, well, monks are more utility DPS, whereas the DHs should be top DPS. I mean, if they're going to go ahead and make us use all these sets like it's some type of MMORPG, they should adhere to the MMORPG rule. If a class's main function is to do damage, they should be the best damage. And if a class can hybrid and do two things like tank or support and do damage, then they should never be out the pure DPS classes. And that's just kind of the way I see it. The first week was fun, just because I didn't play Season 6. Is it worth to play this season? Yes. Is it worth to play it all season long? I don't think so. As soon as you get bored of the game, I'll tell you to stop playing. Some people are just going to come on and get the rewards, portrait, pet, dip the fuck out. Some people will go a little bit further and get their stash tab. Do I need to keep playing after that? That question's up to you. But at least for me, I know I'm enjoying it because I'm playing solo and it's taking a while for me to get all the gear. If I was in group, it would just be going, everything would be accelerated. I can definitely see people burning out within the next week. I mean, the numbers are already dropping on Twitch, even though it doesn't matter, but I'm just being honest. So I think Season 7 outside of the whole meta thing is weird. I think they need to address the issue with solo play versus group play. This has been going on for too long, and if you gave more people the ability to get more done solo, I think you would see a lot more spike in players. And if you can get some stuff done effectively by yourself, whether it be going greater risk systems or something like that, or groups, then I think more people will come back to the game. But when you are constantly forced to do things in a group in every single game, when these games are not known for group stuff, if it's Overwatch, okay, that's fine, one thing. Counter-Strike is fine, another thing. But a lot of action RPGs, you used to be able to get a lot of stuff done effectively by yourself, or if you jumped in a group, you can get things done as well too. But you didn't have to necessarily do it always in a group. And that's the big disparity right now. I agree groups should get ahead, but maybe groups should only get, an advantage in legendary drops or something. I don't know. I can't fix it all. The only thing I could think of is that if they were to separate group gyms from and group Paragon from solo, that would actually help out. Or just simply just have your gym levels and just be like this. If you're in a 2-man group or higher, your gyms are scaled based upon, whatever your highest level group gyms are. Like, you can have the same gym. You can have one gym with 2 levels. One for solo. That means that gym levels up based upon when you're playing by yourself. And then once you're in a party or 2 or more, then it kicks on to the other level, which is what your group level is. That would help out a lot. Paragon levels, well, that's up to you. I really think they should have some kind of Paragon level restriction. I think you should be able to get as much Paragon levels as you want, but if you're in a group, again, that's your group Paragon levels. If you're by yourself, then it reverts to the Paragon levels you got by yourself. Some people don't like that idea. People think it's crazy, but you gotta give something to the players that solo play by themselves to make them feel like because there's people who can be committed, but if you're not on when your other friends are on, or you feel like you're always losing out because you're not grouping, that's going to dissuade a lot of people when people feel forced to do something. A lot of people want to go out there and play solo. They may not be up when their friends are up, so that's just an idea to put that out in the ether. Okay, looks like we're pushing about 18 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and close this up. Long story short, they could have did a better job with the meta. I think they were too hasty. I hope it's not 3 monks and a barbarian by the end of the season. That'd be ridiculous. I think Witch Doctor overall is fine. They might have to tweak a couple things to get us inside groups, but I think Witch Doctor overall is in a very nice balanced place. We're neither ridiculously strong or ridiculously weak. We can still get in groups and do fairly well. We need some findangling, but I don't think we're going to scale well as compared to what the meta actually is. But overall, I honestly think they did a great job with Witch Doctor. I think they needed to nerf the support role a bit. I'm perfectly fine with Blizzard doing that. I just think they should have tweaked the damage a little bit better and maybe made us more of a damage support. But overall, I know a lot of people may not like this opinion. They did a good job. Season 7, is it fun? I think so, especially if you took a break from Season 6. Is it worth it to play through the whole season? No. It's worth it to play for at least about a month? I say yeah. Is it fun? Yeah. And you can just play by yourself like I've been doing solo, and I've been having a good time. Not that I'm against groups, but like I said, if I'm in groups, everything gets accelerated. I get more gear, I get my Paragon, which is not a bad thing, but then eventually I don't have a reason to play the game anymore because I'm sitting on all these items I don't need. And then, just in general, Witch Doctors or Wizard or blah, blah, blah. Blizzard needs to work on the meta. So that's it. I do have some guides coming out I think they're going to be purely video. Please let me know if you guys want me to make them written out. Otherwise, I'm just going to do them very high quality videos, break down the gear, and just basically get all my older Witch Doctor guides up to date for the Akars, the Jade, Helltooth, everything, so people know what's going on and what builds could work quite well if you decide to run a certain set. Outside of all that, like I said, I'll do another update next week or maybe in a couple days if anything interesting happens. Got some Overwatch videos coming up, but overall, I think they did an okay job with Season 7 outside of the whole meta balancing thing. That's something that always bothered me since they pushed group play, but at this point, I'm just beating a dead horse. So thank you guys for watching the videos. As always, you guys can check me out. I'm usually streaming about 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to about 4 or 5. Then I take a break and come back late night. Same thing for Overwatch. And then also, if you guys want to check our podcast, Diablo and Friends podcast, we just started back up. It's on the YouTube channel. We do that live at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time on Saturday nights. And of course, if you guys want to see certain topics covered or you guys got any good articles, you can just leave them links inside the comment section or you message me on Twitch. As always, I appreciate you guys watching the videos and sticking with it. Please like, share, and subscribe, and all that other blah, 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 blah. And, of course, all my social media information, link to the stream, is down below in the description. As always, I appreciate you guys watching the videos. Like I think I said before, you guys have a good weekend, and be safe. Debo is out.